Alright, last but not least, solving systems with elimination. Remember, this is the weird one that your book also calls addition, because we can eliminate variables by adding or subtracting equations together. So if we take a look at this system that we have negative 3x plus 2y equals a negative 4, and then 4x plus 2y equals 10. If we were to just add these two equations together, something awesome happens. Negative 3x plus 4x gives us 1x. Negative 2y plus 2y gives us 0. And negative 4 plus 10 gives us 6. What we did right there was add and eliminate our y values. We can do this. So now we have that x equals 6. That's it. That's part of our answer. Now, just like all the other ones, we need an x part and a y part. So we're not done until we find that. So you do have to use substitution with elimination once you find your number. So we're going to go back up, and it doesn't matter what x we plug this into. Either one should give us the y value that we need. So let's use the first equation just because it's first. Negative 3 times 6 minus 2y equals a negative 4. This will give me negative 18 minus 2y equals a negative 4. And if I add 18 to both sides, I end up with negative 2y equals 14. And if I divide both sides by negative 2, we get that y is a negative 7. So now that we have both parts of our answer, we can write them in a point, 6, comma, negative 7. And we're done. This one is definitely my favorite. They, of course, get a little harder, but not much. So if we look at this one, if we were to just add these two equations together, nothing would eliminate. Nothing would cross off. We would have 4 A's here, and then 6 C's plus whatever that is. So nothing crosses off. We need to do something about that so that we do get things to cross off or to eliminate. So we can multiply an entire equation by the exact same number and still have it be equal. Think about a really easy equation like x equals 10. If I multiply both sides of this by 3, I'd get 3x equals 30, which still means the same thing. X would still have to be 10. So we can do that over here. And you get to choose what you want to eliminate, but 2a and 2a here and here would almost eliminate. The only thing that needs to happen is we need one of them to be negative. So let's take one of these equations and multiply it by negative 1. And it doesn't matter which equation we take. Let's do the bottom one. If I multiply everything in here by negative 1, I end up with negative 2a minus 2c equals a negative 21.5. And now if I bring down this other equation, let's just write it again, and I add these two together, now my a's cross off. So I get 0 here plus 2c equals 8.5. And then I can divide both sides by 2 and end up with c has to equal 4.25. And then remember, we need two parts to our answer. Normally an x and a y, but this time a and c. So we got to substitute this in. And again, it doesn't matter which one you substitute it into. Let's plug it in the first one because it's first. So I have 2a plus 4 times my c value, which I just found was 4.25. And that has to equal 30. So now if we multiply this by 4, we end up with 17. And if we subtract 17 from both sides, we get that 2a has to be the same thing as 13. If we divide both sides by 2, this gives us 7 Nope, it gives us 6.5. And now that we have both parts of our answer, we need to write them as a point. In our points, it always goes x comma y, so that's easy to remember who comes first. But if you're not given x and y, if you're given any other letters, it's always whoever comes first in the alphabet. So in this case, A comes first, so we would write our answer as 6.5, comma, 4.25. So the hardest part for some of these is figuring out what you are going to eliminate. So this problem and the next one are exactly the same, but I'm telling you we need to solve by eliminating x. Then the next time around we're going to solve by eliminating y. So if I want to eliminate x, I got to get these two things to be opposites. I need to somehow change them into something so that when I add them up, it gets 0. It goes away. So we need to think of the lowest common multiple. What's the number that I can turn 2 into and turn 5 into that are equal? So hopefully 10 came to mind. I can turn the top one into 10 by multiplying by 5, and I can turn the bottom equation into 10 by multiplying by 2. One of these needs to be negative though, so it crosses off. And it does not matter which one you make negative. So I'm going to multiply this top equation. Let's make this one negative. Multiply it by negative 5. So I end up with negative 10x minus 15y equals negative 25. So that means I'm going to have to multiply this guy by a positive 2. Remember, you have to multiply everything in the equation for it to make true still. So this gives me 10x plus 8y. And it has to equal 32. So now we can add these guys up. And our 10s go away. We get 0. Negative 15 plus 8 will give us negative 7y. And the difference between 25 and 32 is 7. So if I divide both sides by negative 7, I get that y has to equal negative 1. And remember, we need 2 parts. We only have 1. So I need to take this negative 1 and substitute it into either equation. Doesn't matter which one. If I plug it into that second one, I end up with 5x minus 4 has to equal 16. So add 4 to both sides. We get 5x has to equal 20. And then if we divide both sides by 5, we get the x as 4. So there's our point. X is 4, y is negative 1. Now since the next problem is the same, we should end up with the exact same answer. We're just going to do it in a different order. So the exact same system. This time I want you to cross off y. I want you to eliminate y. So if we look at our y's, the coefficients in front of them are 3 and 4. So the least common multiple. What's the number we can turn 3 into and a number we can turn 4 into? Hopefully 12 is what's popping in your head. And remember, one of them needs to be negative. It doesn't matter which one you make negative. So let's multiply the top one by positive 4. So that turns into 8x plus 12y equals 20. And now my bottom one, I'm going to have to multiply by negative 3 to make my y's cross off. So this gives me negative 15x minus 12y equals a negative 48. So again, we can add these guys up. I end up with negative 7x plus 0 equals a negative 28. And then if I divide both sides by negative 7, we end up with the same answer that we did before. X has to equal 4. And if you notice, on this one back here, we found the y value first because we eliminated the x's. here we found the x value first because we eliminated the y's. But we still have to find our other value. So take this and plug it in. Remember, it doesn't matter which one you plug it into. So if I do 5 times 4 plus 4y equals 16, I end up with 20 plus 4y equals 16. Subtract 20 from both sides. 4y has to give me negative 4. And if I divide both sides by 4, we get negative 1. So same answer as before, 4, negative 1. But it does not matter which way you solve it. And like I said, this one is my favorite. If I am given a choice, I always use elimination. Just because graphing is never accurate, and I think substitution is a pain in the butt. But you need to know all three, because I will specifically ask you to solve with each of them. So again, hopefully this one made sense. If not, there's 2 other videos that you can watch. There is a picture to kind of show you what's going on, and a Khan Academy activity that you can play with. And then you also have some homework. So hopefully you guys had a good week. I will see you on Monday.